The Atlanta Falcons are not our final team, but our next team in the NFC South, headlined by Drake London, Arnold Ebiketie, and I put Desmond. You have to put Desmond Ritter in here, right? I mean, although he wasn't the next pick, but he was the 74th overall pick, and it's a massive deal. AJ, you are a resident Falcons fan. Overall, how do the Falcons do?
Well, we talked about this before. When you have so many needs, it's really hard to go wrong. We got real close to going wrong. Y'all remember me in the draft? I was not happy with all the linebackers we were taking. As I've done some more deep digging on my team, comes to note that there's a big chance that we will need all those linebackers, and I hope that's not true this year. But overall, I like what we were able to do. Drake London, you had a decision at 8. I would have went Garrett Wilson. I really like the style of player he is, the consummate professional that he's already shown to be at Ohio State. But when it comes to getting a player in Drake London, a guy who was a physical freak, a guy who could high point the ball, a guy who turns 50-50 catches into 70-30, and then is just a mammoth after he catches it with the contact, I'm not mad at it. You get a guy who put up, I think it was 88-something receptions and over 1,000 yards in just 8 games. I'm taking that. That's production. That's a guy who can come in and make an impact. Now, a lot of people argue he has the biggest bust potential of our drafts, and that may be it. But when you take a guy who everyone else had a high grade on, and he was going to go 2 picks later, I don't think you hate it. I think we got a steal in Arnold Ebiketie. He was a great edge rusher. A lot of people also had a round 1 grade on him. We know Aaron loves Troy Anderson. I'll leave Troy Anderson for Aaron. And I want to talk about Desmond Ritter. I was one who didn't really want a quarterback in this draft. And as I sit back and think about it, I didn't want us taking one in the first round. I didn't think it was that pressing of a need because of where we are. Desmond Ritter's a guy, after they played Georgia 2 years ago in the bowl game, that I thought Atlanta had a good chance of getting. And now we do have him. I'm very excited about it because I think even though he's a project, all these quarterbacks in this draft are a project. But when it comes to a guy like Desmond Ritter, he's got the experience. We're talking 44 career wins in the FBS. That's 3rd most all time. He's thrown for over 10,000 yards. He has a Cincinnati QB record of 29 rushing touchdowns. So he's athletic. He can get out of the pocket. He can move around. Some accuracy issues. He's a hard worker. He's going to work on his accuracy issues. And getting a weapon like a Drake London might help that situation. I wish they would have addressed getting another receiver. I think that was a big miss by not doing that in some of the later rounds. But when it comes to Desmond Ritter, everyone's questioning it. Look, with these quarterbacks in this draft, there are a million reasons not to like some people. But you only need one reason to like a guy before you draft him. And if they found that reason in Desmond Ritter, so be it.
Wow, AJ sounded like a philosopher. You only need one reason to draft the guy. If he's good, you don't need whatever, man. Who cares?
He gave you 10,239 reasons.
Vinny, do you have anything here? Go ahead, Vinny. You have anything here?
Well, I don't have anything useful, but why my dude Desmond Ritter look like he already 36 in that
picture? He looks so old. He looks so old. Bro, I swear. I was like, did they just draft Chris Winkie? I mean, like, he looks like
he's seen the meme. He's seen the meme and talking about he looked like he about to go fly World War II planes.
Right. Like, I don't know who's older, Chris Winkie, or Brandon Whedon. One of them. They're all 30 by the time they were drafted.
Yeah, Brandon Whedon. Well, sorry, I did actually have something useful. It was on the Drake London thing. You both you guys. No, that's not it. This. You gave Drake London an A. Aaron, you gave him the A-. I went a B+. And obviously there's not like that big of a difference here. Like it's not like insane, like an insane drop off. But like to me, if you're given an A or in that A range, that has to be like one of like 2 things, like a big time position need and a good player, or like I want to see that be like the best player available in the Atlanta Falcons case, because
that's why I gave it an A-.
Yeah, that's why I dropped it down to a B+, because you had Garrett Wilson there, who I thought was the best wide receiver in this class, and they go Drake London, similar to like the Jags pick of Trayvon Walker, where it's still a great pick. It's still a great pick. You're just taking a little bit more risk than an Aiden Hutchinson. You're taking a little bit more risk on Drake London than you are Garrett Wilson, but I still like that pick. Proceed, Aaron.
Yeah, I did want to touch on the Drake London thing. The more I've watched Drake London, due to the limited action last year and stuff, the more I like him. I think he is the best route runner in this draft class. He also has amazing hands. He reminds me a lot because he doesn't have that separation of speed. I told you guys this before. He reminds me a lot of Des Bryant, his physical nature, going up to get 50-50 balls. And despite what people may feel about Des Bryant, you go to Des Bryant's prime. Now you add a guy who probably a better, higher character guy in Drake London. That was a very, very good football player. So I liked that pick, but the fact is the best pick on the board is right there. It's Trey Anderson. Look, man, we talk about Swiss Army knives and being able to do a multitude of things. This guy was a quarterback in 2018, a quarterback who threw for 1,200 yards, who ran for another 1,400 yards as a quarterback for Montana State. So what do they go and do? You know what? Your future is probably not at quarterback because you can't throw the ball very as well as you need to. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to allow you to play linebacker. What does he do at linebacker? His second year ever playing linebacker, he records 150 tackles. 150. That's up there with Chad Mumas of the world. Now, again, we could talk about the competition level playing in the FCS, but this is a guy who's versatile. He's athletic. He's a playmaker on both sides of the football, and you can do so many things with him. He's a high character guy. I love players like this that get drafted as early as he did, because he's going to be given an opportunity to be a part of a franchise and actually make an impact there. The rest of what Atlanta did, I thought was just decent. I love the Tyler Algier pick late that we didn't even mention yet at running back. When you talk about Cordero Patterson there, look, he's 31 years old. He's not even a traditional running back. They let go of Mike Davis, which tells me that Tyler Algier is going to have a chance to get some playing time. I know they brought in a Damian Williams, but we all know Damian Williams is getting up there in age as well. He's almost 30, and he's kind of a journeyman. So I really liked that pick. And then to the Desmond Ritter, I would have liked them to see. I would have liked to see them go wide receiver where Desmond Ritter's at, and then maybe if Desmond Ritter fell to 82, pick him. Or you could have even switched that. If you go Desmond Ritter there, I would have liked to see D'Angelo Malone turn into another receiver. I agree with AJ. They could have addressed that receiver again in the third round and got a really, really good football player. And then you're looking at Drake London, Oletus Zamakias or whatever the hell his name is. Lama Dave Zacchaeus. And another receiver there. I thought that would have been a little bit more beneficial to add that to Kyle Pitts when you go to find your franchise quarterback in a Desmond Ritter, or if you're waiting till next year, whatever the case may be. So overall, I thought Atlanta did a pretty decent job. I know we got made fun of them because they did the linebacker stuff, but let's be honest, it's just a couple of linebackers they took. Yeah. It's not like not like they went and drafted 8 linebackers. They took 2.
Yeah, it is true. Just 2.
So one last thing when it comes to like the thought process of a Drake London, let's remember it's Arthur Smith back with Marcus Mariota, and he's getting his guys and his style of offense that he had. Remember, he had an AJ Brown, so it's not the quickest thing for him to go and grab a guy who's small, quick, and fast. Even though, again, I'm with the Garrett Wilson side of things, but he wanted that big body guy like a Drake London who may be able to do some of the things that an AJ Brown did. Maybe Drake London reminds him of that, and he. I see that he brought in Anthony Fersker too. We were talking about that tight end from Tennessee. So, Arthur Smith kind of is another one of those coaches who are trying to get his guys and get his scheme working. So I think that had a little bit more to do with the selection at number 8.
You know what I like, and this could be the last thing here on that Drake London thing and the Falcons is, I thinking about it now. You talk about how you bring up a really good point about Arthur Smith getting his guy. And you think quickly, you're like, okay, maybe why didn't Atlanta trade back? Like, if Drake London isn't the guy, or you think you possibly get him back, why not trade back? But this draft was so wide open at the wide receiver position to where everyone had a different top wide receiver, so you don't know if that's going to be the case. So get your guy, especially if the gap isn't that much. We do think that there's a gap, obviously, but you don't know how the draft's going to shake up.
Wasn't the case.
I like. That
wasn't the case with some teams.
Yeah, I like the fact that they did that. I mean, there were teams that had Drake London as their number 1 guy, so who knows?
Dallas
how the draft shakes up.
Yeah.
So
the Jets would have happily fell with him if Garrett Wilson was gone too. So
exactly. Good draft by the Atlanta Falcons. This is how it shook up with the rest of the NFC South. Looks like this. Again, we talk about it. Not a lot of picks for these teams in the NFC South, I should say. The Carolina Panthers lead the charge with a 3.32, and right behind them, really, I mean, this is a tight race in the NFC South. Not a lot of picks, so it's much tighter for a grade. I mean, the grades look they're a little different in the NFC South, but Falcons at 2, and then the Saints literally 0.01 behind the Falcons. Shout out Aaron for his math, an incredible grading system that he has. And then the Bucks at 2.95, which is not bad at all. Again, that's a full sales score. That's a full sale APA for me. So boom, right there. GPAs, are there any, do you have anyone want to,
very indicative GPAs of how the NFC South is almost year to year. Take out the year Tom Brady came to the Bucks and they just dominated. Normally the NFC South checks up like this a lot. Very tight races all the way through division. You're seeing 7 and 9 teams go to the playoffs because they were all bad that year too. Or then you see the 11 and 5 guys that are all good that year. So I'm not surprised that all the grades were so close together.
It'll probably end up being the opposite of what like the grades, like the highest is the Panthers and then the lowest is the Bucks. The lowest in the standings will most likely be the Panthers, and the highest standings team would be probably the Bucks. So,
yeah, well, remember, a lot of these teams didn't have very many high picks outside of the Falcons having 3 in the top 2 rounds. The Saints had a couple of first rounders, but Tampa Bay didn't pick until the second round. Panthers had a first round pick. It didn't pick again until the third. I thought Carolina maximized their draft with their limited capital. I thought the players they got, again, outside of the Matt Corral, which, could have even bumped up their grade even a bit more, but you address the position you feel like you need in a quarterback. But I think it's close. I think that's the thing we're talking about, a close division. It's going to be a close race. And Tampa Bay, they're the class of the division right now.